Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Light-Minded Individual podcast, where we talk with people about ways to bring more light and more healing to our world to create positive shifts. And today we have on Brad Chesley. He is an energy healer, founder of Timeline Healing, and co-founder and CEO of Integrity Sober Living of Marston Mills, Cape Cod. He's been on a spiritual journey for 2 years, beginning as a substance abuse counselor, working on the front lines in detox, helping people recover from their addiction issues. He now offers powerful lineage-based energy healing tools to those who are seeking freedom from their addiction. And welcome, Brad Chesley. We're so happy to have you on today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, this is a big topic. In January, I'm talking with the theme of overcoming obstacles, setting new goals for the coming year. And addiction is something that I think our society really struggles with. And I know that you have a lot of personal experience with this. Addiction isn't just something that is drugs and alcohol, right? We live in a very addictive based society. We're scrolling on our phones, we're binge watching our Netflix shows, we're going out and shopping, we're engaging in all kinds of behaviors and patterns that are addictive. And we struggle, and this is working as a nurse. I know that addiction is something that the current medical system hasn't really been able to treat and solve. And I might be coming, way out from left field on this for a lot of people, but I think that addiction is really based, it's a spiritual issue. It's really an issue based in with our connection with our soul and our spirit. So this is something that you have successfully healed within yourself. And now you're able to offer really powerful healing to people out there in the world who are looking for freedom from their substance abuse. So tell me a little bit about how you transitioned from working just in your conventional counseling substance abuse and how that transitioned into working with spiritual tools. What was that transition and path like for you?
Well, I'm in recovery as well. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so I'm in recovery. Before we founded Integrity Sober Living, I was a person that was trying to get sober for almost a decade. I was in and out of treatment centers, sober living residences, and other forms of treatment. And during that time, it was from anywhere from Florida to Maine that I was in various programs or facilities. So I had extensive exposure to the different types of treatment that are available. And as I worked as a counselor, once I got sober a few years ago, I worked as a counselor in the local detox on Cape Cod, helping people as well. And one of the things that we noticed that in addiction is that a lot of people, what we found is before we founded the Integrity Sober Living business, was the holistic approach or the spiritual approach was missing on a large scale, if you will. There's a lot of people that are doing fellowship and other types of recovery resources, and they're sober, and they're just lacking any type of joy in their lives, and they're looking for something more. Like I was one of those people that I was sober for about a year and a half. I was working as a counselor, and I was helping people get sober, but at the same time, honestly, like I didn't have any joy in my life.
Mm.
Um, I was looking for that, and that's where my spiritual journey began. Um, so I started seeking more out of life beyond the typical resources that were available, and that's when I started to discover energy healing. And honestly, at the beginning, I wasn't really one of those people that really bought into what, like I didn't come into it like I know this is going to work. I met with people, and people would say things to me about how this works, and a lot of times I would think to myself, I have no idea what you're talking about. But I was seeking more, and I was like, I was willing to try it because all these other, I mean, I've been to hundreds, like almost 1,000 of other types of meetings and other resources over that decade. And being able to not be able to maintain more than 3 to 6 months sober during that time, and then after a year and a half still sober, still not having any happiness or joy, I was really willing to try anything. So at that point, I was willing to try these things, and I basically went through various retreats, different types of energy healing, meditation. I was trying to manifest a new life. I was trying everything. And then when I discovered about a year in to this journey of mine, I discovered the mystery school. And that's when I did life activation, and soul retrieval and full spirit activation. And I knew nothing about what that meant at the time. It was all brand new to me. But during that journey, like I wasn't really having any breakthroughs. And when I look back on my journey now, it was about 3 weeks after I was life activated. That's when huge shifts started to happen in my life. And the reason I say that is a lot of people are looking for more. When they're either sober, trying to get sober. This is for people in recovery, or people that are not in recovery at all, that don't have an issue, substance use disorder. They might be looking for that next thing, like they're trying different types of spirituality, resources. And I say that because it's almost like in a way you want to save people a little bit of time and money, because I spent an extensive amount of time trying to jump through different resources or avenues until I found life activation, soul retrieval, full spirit. And I'd done those other things and weren't, it was trying to really make results, but major breakthroughs happened within those 3 weeks.
Amazing, amazing. And it is, you talk about trying something even though you don't understand it, even though you don't really trust it, but there is something inside of us that wants it. It kind of reminds me of that quote where it's like, if you want different results, you have to try something new, you
Mm,
know, and how often we can, you know, how often I'm also recovered from drug and alcohol abuse. And it's like you see people trying the same thing over and over again and not getting the same results, trying the same, you know, addiction recovery, 12-step program or whatever. And some people get really great results from that. But some people are sort of spinning their wheels in the mud in the same program in the same system and not getting the same results. And it takes a certain level of, I think, humility, of emptying your cup, accepting that we need help in a form that we've never had it before, and a bravery and a willingness to try something totally new in order to get those different results. Um, and it's a step that, yeah, that first step can be really difficult because you're like, I don't know. They're throwing around words like light and energy and aura and chakras, and I don't know what this means, you know? But I'm hoping that that's a place that maybe we're coming to as a society, like really collectively accepting that we are more than just physical beings, and that there's this whole spiritual component to ourselves and how we experience the world that maybe is that for people who are like, I'm looking for something more. Maybe that more is something that you can't necessarily see, taste, touch, measure, or like, you know what I mean? Or just like be like, yes, this is it. It's something that's beyond that. And I think that's where, like you said, that's really the missing piece in a lot of the addiction recovery treatment that's out there is we've just missed the whole spiritual aspect entirely.
mm. Yeah, it's amazing to see. So, I mean, a lot of people in recovery are not familiar with energy healing beyond, I mean, most people in general are not familiar with any type of energy healing beyond Reiki. Like
Mm,
if people have heard Reiki, and that's about their extent of their knowledge regarding energy healing. But
right.
when we start to educate with like life activation, full spirit, soul retrieval, especially with people in recovery, I found that soul retrieval speaks to
Mm.
people in recovery more than any other healing.
Interesting.
Because I mean, for me, it was like we were talking about. So oftentimes we talk about light, chakras, all this thing, and many people just kind of zone out on it. But then when I explain to people like soul retrieval is something that heals trauma, and how the idea that the soul will fracture, and leave, and that's why people will have symptoms like PTSD, disassociation, and have trauma related symptoms, either childhood related, overdose. Many people in recovery have overdosed. So when someone discussed the benefits of soul retrieval to me, it was one of those moments that suddenly I snapped to attention and I was thinking, what did you just say? And
Mm.
because I'd overdosed. I've overdosed like almost 20 times over the last 10 years. I've had other like issues with trauma throughout childhood, and as working as a counselor in a detox, I can tell you right now about 99% of people that come through that door have severe trauma. I think I had one patient out of hundreds that said they did not. So it seems to me the underlying issue when it comes to maybe that's oftentimes the source of why people develop substance use disorder. Um, and so many people that when you talk to them about soul retrieval, they're interested because especially in recovery.
Yeah.
And on top, when you explain them that prior to soul retrieval, we'll do life activation with you because we need to get you healed energetically prior to the soul retrieval, so you're ready for it. And they understand it, and they seem to be on board. We started rolling that out for the guys at Integrity Sober Living. So Integrity Sober Living, we have a luxury. We like to call it luxury. We provide higher end sober living services. We're trying to create a new standard for sober living. We have a very nice house. It's in Falmouth, Cape Cod, Massachusetts, and we focus on the energy healing. So we provide 3 healings to the guys as part of their rent. So it's included in their rent. As we do life activation, they're all offered the ability to get a life activated, full spirit activated, and soul retrieval. And what we did is because they're all living in the same house, it's the perfect study group, or control group for a study. And what we did is we started to analyze people that chose to get life activated versus those who did not. And during that course of time, it's been about 9 months now. That in August we were offering life activation. We had about 60% participation out of the house. And on average, as of August, there was about, on average, people that were life activated stayed in sober living 57 days longer. It's right around 56 to 59, 57 days longer in sober living than people that are not. And that's significant because in the industry, people know that if you the longer someone stays in sober living or treatment, their probability of staying in long-term abstinence from substances is much higher. And then in addition to that, we had 6 people leave for adverse reasons, 10 people in total, 4 left for, because they were ready to move on, get their own place, et cetera. But 6 for adverse reasons. In the industry, if you talk about these numbers, and that's still to this date, that we've only had 10 people leave to date, and 6 only for adverse reasons. That is highly above industry standards. I mean, I've lived in sober living from Florida to Maine. I've seen 6 to 8 people roll in one weekend. Like that many people roll out of a house. So for us to have that many in 9 months is just unheard of. And we truly believe that's correlated to life activation and the benefits of the energy healing. But once we start, the reason I note that what it was like in August is that once we start offering soul retrieval, the participation of the house went from 60 some odd percent to 93%. So that's how much more people in recovery are interested in soul retrieval. The reason I note this is like, why is this pertinent to people in recovery, or why would people that run treatment centers or sober living houses be interested in bringing these services into their houses? And there's a couple of reasons. One is that many times, often, they want their residents to stay, or their clients to stay, or their patients to stay in treatment. So there's a huge thing in the industry where people just leave treatment against medical advice or against counseling advice to leave prior to when they should. And if someone what we do is at Timeline Healing, we create a package of healings that we'll bring to local treatment centers or sober living residents, and we'll tailor it to their clients or their patients so that they can then offer these services they offer the services through us. So we go into a treatment center, we life activate potential patients, and then like 3 weeks out, we would soul retrieval or full spirit. It would be a full spirit activation, and then 3 weeks after that, it would be soul retrieval. And this really helps patients, and it's kind of changing the industry, I feel like, because treatment centers that offer these services, they're offering a unique product that other people in the industry do not have. And there's many people out there that are trying to get sober, that have been trying to get sober for a decade or more, that can't get sober, and they're looking for that thing that's different. And if they find that treatment center and they find out that they're offering soul retrieval, full spirit, life activation, they're going to want to go there. And that really differentiates that treatment center like from the competition. I mean, it's kind of like you're doing something cutting edge. You're offering energy healings that are showing that they're resulting in clients becoming more stabilized, so they stay in treatment longer, they don't leave early. And that benefits not only the client, because then they have long-term sobriety. It also benefits the treatment center because they don't have people leaving all the time.
Right, right. It's a win-win. Everyone wins with energy healing.
Right, right.
And it's amazing, this is, just the tip of the iceberg, it sounds like, as far as, you had amazing results with one session, just the life activation session, right? And, so we're both practitioners in this system of healing that it begins with life activation, soul retrieval, and there is an endless path for people to gain self-mastery and personal healing. And, you're just offering people like the first tiniest step on that
Mm,
path, right? And they're already having huge results, huge results. And so that, I just want to applaud you on that alone, because this is something where the current medical system has sort of has failed these individuals as far as treatment. And even current psychological practices have oftentimes failed in healing this, like you talked about, it's often rooted in this deep, deep trauma. And if we're not going to the source of that trauma and healing that at the source, we just Band-Aid gets put on, Band-Aid falls off. Again, Band-Aid put on, Band-Aid falls off, right? And how the life activation really sets the stage for healing in such a way, you talk about soul retrieval, people might say, like, why do I have to life activation? Like, I just have to I just want the soul retrieval, for example. But it's like, in order for those pieces of the soul to come back, they have to come back to a healed and whole self. And that's what the life activation does, is set that stage. Life activation and full spirit activation sets the space within you and gives you the healing and light within you, so that those pieces of the soul that were fragmented off in that trauma will want to come back to a space that is now safe and welcoming and ready to receive those aspects of itself back. So really amazing stuff. Where do you see this going? Where do you see this going in the next like 5 to 10 years?
I see this really making an impact in the recovery industry for sure, because it's just something that people are not aware of. And I can speak to the fact that I know many people also that are in recovery, that are recovered, that are not using, that are, continuing. I was one of them. I'd be going to fellowship meetings. And honestly, I was inside, I was miserable. And that's why I found these services like life activation. And I it truly shifted my life. So that's why we brought it to people in recovery, that are many people that are not aware of it, is that many people out there they're looking for more. Like if they know that something could potentially shift their life like it did for me, people that know me, people that knew who I was like 2 years ago, that know me now, like I'm a different human being. That's how drastic life activations changed my life. Like I was not a happy person, to say the least. But I was staying sober because honestly, I couldn't deal with the consequences of using anymore. But I
Mm.
wasn't doing it because it was bringing me joy and happiness. And there's many people out there that are like that, that really want to find that joy and happiness. And whether they believe in it or not, if I know that many people, if they know this is an opportunity that's out there for them, if they do this, that there might be a chance that things could shift with them. And like that's why I really feel like it's going to shift the industries, because once people are aware of this, and the more people that try it, and people see, like in our house, we work with these guys, we do these soul retrievals, and it's amazing to see it. Like some of these people are like down and out. They haven't been able to get sober. They're bouncing out for 10 years, like I was, in and out or more, just can't get sober. And you see the light come into them. Like you see it, like it breathe life into them. Like I remember the first time I did a codone reading, when I went to life activation. I sat there and I got the codone reading, and I remember distinctly thinking, with half the thing she says, like, I don't know what that means. It doesn't mean anything to me. And then went out in my life, right? And I was like in a store and somebody just walked up to me and you could tell they have no idea. It was like almost like having a psychic like let you know this event was going to occur. And suddenly they started describing the thing that the person gave to me in the codon reading. And I was speechless, just staring at these people like, what is happening right now? And and it was like one of those things where you see that there is something greater out there when it plays out in your life. And it's truly like that's what happens to the guys in the house. Many of them may not, 100% believe it, but they're willing to give it a shot. And then they see that type of thing unfold in their lives and they light up. And then their lives change. And some people's lives change, but they don't even attribute it to life activation or the soul achievement. Their lives entirely change, and they're like, "Yeah, it's just coincidence." But that doesn't matter to me. It's like that we're really truly helping people through these services.
Right, right. It's not about, you know what I mean? It's not about, I mean, it's about the results, whether or not that person attributed, because I've had the same thing happen as a healer, I'll like, be like, oh, how was your life activation? How was this and that? They're like, oh, no, nothing really changed. I'm like, oh, well, what's going on in your life? They're like, oh, well, I finally moved out of my mom's house and I ended that toxic relationship and I got a promotion at my job and da da da. And I'm like, oh yeah, nothing happened. Nothing happened in your life. And
Totally
that's
unrelated.
okay. That's all right because the point was that their life is better, right? And that was the whole point of doing the whole thing at the end. And whether or not they attribute it to life activation or the work or whatever it is. And I was in that same boat. I mean, I did a whole year of Kabbalah and then was like, yeah, but maybe my life would have changed anyway. Like, who's to say it was the spiritual healing that did it? Because people just totally turn their life around 180 in less than a year all the time. That happens all the time. Not, right? People try to
Yeah.
change for decades. And I love the distinction that you make also where it's like you could be sober, you could have everything in life that you think that you want. You could be checking all the boxes and really successful, but not be happy, but not have joy. And that's like, that's sort of like the je ne sais quoi of spirituality, where it's like, it's something until you experience it, you can't really quite put your finger on what's wrong or what you want, but you know that there's this like fill in the blank. There's this void within yourself and within your life that hasn't been filled. And you keep trying to fill it with the things that you think should fill it, like money or being sober for X amount of days or years, or achieving some status, some societal status or some job or something like that. But that void that people are trying to fill is the connection with spirit and knowing themselves as spiritual beings and knowing that there is so much more to life than the physical things that they've been trying to quench with. And that you know, falling under the umbrella is joy and connection to other beings and that purpose and that mission and that drive and bliss and peacefulness and serenity. Like these are all things that people reach for and have a hard time gaining because they fall under the umbrella of spirituality. And unless you're addressing yourself on a spiritual level and receiving healing and spiritual guidance and meditating and journaling and doing all those things, they're still going to be out of reach. And that's what you provide with the life activation. You fill that sort of that gap of surviving to thriving with energy healing, which makes the difference in the success rates, it sounds like, with your clients.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Amazing. So cool. Well, I think everybody should get a life activation.
I do
Whether they're
too.
whether they're dealing with this is obviously something that's really huge for people who are trying to get sober and stay sober and find more joy and fulfillment in life. And even if you're not, if you're just looking for something more, like I said, like I said at the beginning, we deal with a lot of addiction in our culture because people are trying to fill that void. And life activation is something that can fill that void and reconnect them with spirituality. But I think every recovery and treatment center and sober living facility should be offering energy healing. Um, and we're biased, but we think life activation is the best.
Right. I think they should strongly consider it because it's truly with the performance of our asset as well, like how people are doing in our houses, it's phenomenal. Like we haven't had anyone leave our house. When we did that study, it was 97 days. No one had left. And we're running a solid quality house. We're drug testing twice a week. So for people in the industry to hear that, I would strongly suggest anyone, a director of a treatment center or any type of program, to strongly consider bringing these services in and then actually measuring it. Because we're all, I mean, everybody knows that the industry is tracking basically from one director to the next. They want to see how, if you're having how many early discharges, unplanned discharges compared to the previous director, or how you're performing compared to this time last year, and trying to reduce that number. And I would strongly recommend meeting with us or meeting someone in the school. We can also, provide links to those resources to discuss, what type of plan we could come in and with what type of energy package we can offer. Because it will literally, if they start tracking it, people that are doing these energy healings versus people that are not, they're going to see an overall improvement in the performance of their treatment center and how well they're helping their patients. In addition to that, these healings are great anchor points for patients, because I've been in treatment. I've been in and out. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I went to treatment. I lost track. I lost track a long time ago. And people, when we end up in treatment, like detox, treatment center, no one wants to be there. You're in a strange environment with people, you're trying to sleep, you're sick from coming off of substances. You don't want to be there. And that's many times why people leave. And if they know they're coming in, they're going to get life activated in that first week or 2 weeks, that they'll anchor into that. Like I had to anchor in to concepts to basically stay in treatment. Like if I just stay here for a week and I can get to a double room out of a 4-man room in the detox, and I can make it to the next week. Mm-hmm. And it was these small things that got me by day. I'm like, I can make it. So people come in the treatment and they're like, I want to get life activated. I'll get life activated next week. And I know it's going to change my life. What's your will? As those people will stay in treatment. And then they know that, let's say they're struggling in treatment. They got things going on the outside that it's making it so they want to leave. They're like, well, I just got to make it, 3 weeks to get full spirit activated. So they anchor into that, and it keeps them in treatment. And then 3 weeks after that, they're going to do soul retrieval. It truly helps people, because it's not only for the people that run the treatment center, which we're really trying to help the patients. And patients have many reasons for why they're going to leave, want to leave treatment early. And these healings truly heal people and change the trajectory of their lives. It has for the people that live in our house. It's beautiful to see. And we really want to get that out there to more people.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you own an addiction treatment facility, you need to reach out to Brad. And you need to get these healings offered to your clients, because it really does it is the make or break of whether or not people actually stay with their sobriety and experience true healing on deeper levels, or just stay in the same circles over and over again. Thank you so much, Brad, for being on and chatting about this. The qualitative data is really astounding. Really astounding. So keep going, keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you, Madison. I really appreciate you having me on.
Of course. Yeah, everyone. So check out Timeline Healing, Brad Chesley, and check out what he offers as far as helping people recover from their addiction and experience sustained sobriety and recovery. My name is Madison White. I'm a spiritual healer, teacher, and guide based out of Boston, Massachusetts, and we are part of an international organization of healers and light workers with the Modern Mystery School. And if you are interested in having more joy, more peace, more freedom in your life, begin with a life activation and contact either of us, and we can help you on your path to spiritual self-mastery. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Brad, again, and we'll see you all next time.